Welcome to the Big Announcement Coming Soon podcast. I'm one of your many hosts, Michael Bull, joined today by Nick, David, and Jeff. It's nice to see David back again, but we're going to start right away with the news. Jeff, what do we got going on in the Bitcoin world?
A lot of things happened this week, but specifically I'm going to pick out two and then something fun. But Mark Karpalas was on Up Only TV yesterday, which is one of the best podcasts out there. And Mark Karpalas was running Mt. Gox back during the hacks in 2013.
Wow.
There's a lot of info that I don't want to jump into that. More importantly, I pulled out of this is he fought to have Bitcoin as what was paid back to people as they recovered funds from Mt. Gox, not have it cashed in. So as the price changed, people were getting repaid in Bitcoin. And he was saying, if that goes forward, do you really want to be repaid in FTT if Mt. Gox is set precedent? If that, like, repaid in the tokens you held or repaid in your cash value in fiat at the time of that. So that, if you are not familiar with Mt. Gox situation, there was years of hacks as the transfer from Jed McCaleb running it to Mark Karpalas and covering that up, and then eventually came out. And there's still,
if I remember, Mt. Gox like one of the first sort of exchanges where normal people could do crypto.
Yeah,
or Bitcoin, really.
Yeah, it was still tough, and it was a lot bigger than anything else as far as the amount of Bitcoin rather than the amount of dollar equivalent that was moved. That's definitely worth watching and reading up on the Mt. Gox hack. It's far more than, that's a 2-hour podcast. Infura, who is a node provider for for Ethereum, if you use your MetaMask wallet, it runs through Infura. They're collecting IP data, tracking it to your wallet. This is something they said they've always been doing. They just kind of reminded us. So there's different services for your node depending on your need for privacy. Definitely look at who your MetaMask node provider is. If you care about the Infura thing, really, they're going to report it. If you're paying your taxes and it's, you're using Ethereum and their OFAC compliant blocks, that's kind of that's the game we're playing with Ethereum now. It's being watched.
Yeah, I mean, just to jump in on that briefly, I saw another tweet by someone else as well, though, being like, if you're already on Infura and they're already doing it in MetaMask, your trail's pretty much there already. So, like, moving it now is not really gonna,
And if you're sending funds from a centralized exchange, and really, like, the people who are reacting to this are the ones who are trying to hide stuff. And I mean, as much as I'd like to be left alone in the blockchain, you got to pay your taxes. That's how you got to pay your taxes.
Yeah, I remember paying my taxes last year, and it was just sort of this random spreadsheet that I downloaded and just uploaded. And I'm like, who's going to believe this? It's just like, it doesn't come from any other source. It just comes from me, and it's just a spreadsheet that I got from companies like Blockfi that shall remain nameless.
That was a mess to do.
All right, what else we got in the news?
The last thing, Gabe Haines went to the Bahamas. Something that's fun to see with crypto Twitter is within a day, someone asked him to go take his videos of ranting around with no shirt about FTX these days is his topic. Somebody said, go to the Bahamas. And he said, well, if I'm going to the Bahamas, it would cost me and my family this much. And people responded by sending the money in. So it's a bear market, but man, is it a good, entertaining bear market.
Yeah, there we go.
He raised 102%.
Well, how long is it going to take us till we get to go to... I'd rather go to Thailand, personally. And we can save because Nick's already there.
Well, we got about, 5 subscribers that aren't family members. So if we ask them to fund us.
That, and it brings us to, for today, our sponsor. So Sakai is our sponsor. David's working with them right now. We are getting paid in Sakai tokens. And I think our disclaimer for it is, as you hear about the use of it from David, it really is a useful token as a DAO governance for their metaverse. If you're interested in using this metaverse and doing the industrial work there, you should be interested in the token. If you're going to speculate and flip it, I think, find something high liquidity.
So I should be selling my Shiba Inu.
You bought Shiba Inu?
I did back in the day. I remember David gave me a hard time about that. I made $1,000 on it. I couldn't believe it. I got the heck out.
Nice.
So, yeah, one of the few.
Well done, man.
Sure. All right, David, what do you got?
Awesome. Yeah, no, totally. I missed you early on, and I regret it to this day. I mean, it just makes so much sense, but nonetheless. Yeah, totally. So I'm pretty excited. Yeah. So this is my first kind of job crypto build experience, so to speak. So I come originally from education, but I've been in crypto since 2017, and I just love all the different elements of it. So I wanted to get involved and do something and build in it, and ideally do so in a way that actually is attached to the real world, so it can actually be a real version of the thing. And so I think I found that in Sakai. Sakai Labs is what I'm the co-founder of. And essentially, Sakai Limited is a B2B industry, business, which looks at industry data. So, for example, Siemens data, and says, okay, we can build you digital twins, which are essentially kind of CAD renderings of different elements for companies. So, yeah, wind farm, for example. But what makes it a digital twin rather than just 3D rendering is that data flows through it. And so it turns in time with its version on the planet, and it is located where it is in the planet. And as a result, you can do clever things with that data, especially if you federate it, have different data sets talk to each other. And so the key problem that Sakai is trying to overcome is that in the current world, data is considered very valuable IP. And so everyone is siloing it and building it with their own ontology, so their own type of data, formatting, and not sharing with anyone else. And so it's really hard for actually us to solve big problems like climate change, for example, because everyone's storing their data. And so for us to actually build productive or more productive processes, you actually need to be able to see that data and work with it. So the wider vision is almost like a Wikipedia approach to data building, where we crowdsource the skills and get everyone to, try it out. And if you can build something in a model that saves somebody or a big company, electricity, power, shipping can be changed, like routes changed because of, tidal information, and you save them energy, they might be willing to, subscribe to your IP, which will be a NFT, for a monthly fee. And so essentially you're being able to basically use the Sakai Limited technology in a metaverse world which is actually connected to the real world. And so an example just quickly of that is Google Earth. Google Earth is essentially a metaverse. Everyone can kind of visit it, but it's just pictures and 3D renderings. The Sky Metaverse is that, but the trains move, the boats move, data flows through it. And so I can show you guys that in a second. But
in real time.
In real time, yeah.
That's the beauty of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
So this reminds me of like early internet sharing, like those the science articles and medical articles, of taking that siloed data, different things, and translating the articles, getting it out there. It's reminding me of that. Of, you're saying between the companies, they have all the data, but if you can share it, and then if you NFT it, you keep track of who shares it, and then pay for sharing. Is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, like huge companies like Palantir will come in and work with a huge company like GE and like go through all their data and like find out their best productivity of their data. But they don't want to share that with other people because then they might copy and be more productive. And so it's like a different way of looking at the world, a very competitive way. And essentially you can blow that up in the long run if you can demonstrate to corporations that actually paying all this money for a very bespoke system that does a niche type of thing is less valuable and also much more expensive than crowdsourcing it from a whole bunch of undergraduate engineers and postgraduate engineers and people who are like, wow, I have a platform, I have different data sets, I can work with data sets.
So not just open between the companies, but like open to, like, we can go in and look at the data and do stuff with it.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. This is like them taking basically Sakai's private metaverse, business to business version, which they can create copies of and gives it to business, opening that up like Google Earth to the public, except you can build on it. And what Sakai's engine does is take data and makes it comparable, because usually everyone has different formats of data. That's the big problem. Like you can't
So you have interoperability. Well, I guess it's all one platform.
Precisely, yeah, totally. So I can show you what it looks like if you want.
Yeah, let's throw that up on the screen.
This is the Sakai metaverse. And so as you can see, it's running on Solarium, which is basically allows you to skin the world, so to speak. And what you see here, the blue things, these are boats moving around the ocean. So live actual representations of those boats. And I think the easiest use case to show you is up here. And so if you have those boats moving around, their data is different than this, which is a railway, which has ore mines along the way. So it's like an ore mine, but a train comes along, stops there, and carries on to the port and needs to meet with the boat. This piece of data, this set of data needs to talk to this set of data. And by it being open and being able to use the platform, you can kind of build a process that's like this, which is mine to ship. And essentially,
hold on, are you solving the two trains are traveling at 50 kilometers an hour and 80 kilometer hours from two? What time do they meet?
Two trains are traveling on the Lightning Network.
Yeah, sadly, exactly what we're doing. But yeah, no, totally.
Yeah,
So this represents the mine. So this is the ports, and these are the mines along the way. And you can kind of see like what the trains did over time. Like if you go through time, like they travel between stations. And then like if you click on one of the assets, one of the trains, you see kind of its travel. And so the argument is that here's the boat coming into harbor, and here's the train going along. Every time the train stops, it requires a lot more energy because of stopping and starting. And the train is often stopping because of passenger trains getting in the way. And so you would think that, okay, you just travel as fast as you can along the train track until you get to the port. Actually, the best way to do it is to travel at the speed that requires you to stop as least time as possible and still meet the boat, which is also facing different data on its trajectory in. And so what we can do is just install an app on a train driver's phone, and it will tell him what speed he should be going at, whether slower, faster, whatever it is, in order to stop the least times to save energy on that trip. And that saves you heaps of fuel, and also still allows you to meet port at the same time. And the port people know as well, so the boat also can travel at the optimum speed. And so that's a really simple data comparison, and someone could just jump in once you train them to use this and build it, and then deploy it and rent it out, essentially their IP to the ore company or the port company or whatever it is. So that's kind of the idea.
And that's, I think, the biggest difference. I know I referenced kind of the open sharing of scientific journals before, but here, when you come and do the work, instead of sharing it on your blog and people go there and it's insightful, you share it as an NFT. People come and pay you for the work you're doing. So it's worth jumping in and exactly. playing with this because there is payment on the back end. Now, hold on. Yeah. In Sakai tokens, in USDC, in ETH.
It'll kind of depend. So initially, like we want to be able to train people into using the software and the platform and be incentivized to doing so. So there'll be kind of like Sakai challenge. There'll be challenges we pose that are kind of leveled by training, and get Sakai rewards for doing those because you're kind of participating in the DAO in the institution, so you should start taking ownership of it, and because you did some work, and so it's worth incentivizing you to continue to do that work, so you get up to that level. Once you get up to the level where you're actually implementing these things in the metaverse outside of the kind of training sandbox, then basically you'll be able to probably it will be grants from organizations, maybe universities or public government kind of organizations. Like, we have this data. We have a $10,000 grant for you to mine this data, figure out all these cool ways to use it to improve trash collection in our city, or whatever it is, right? So once you can prove the use case and that you have enough people that can start building on stuff, then people can start dipping in. But with public open data we have already these kind of things can be built. Like these is already public data being used. So yeah, that's essentially the trajectory. But yeah,
interesting. Because we've been to the Ohm metaverse. I've run around Decentraland, and those are fun. This seems like a very different. You log in for work. And then you talk about like, we're going to go to meetings in the metaverse, but this is what we're going to do in the metaverse. We're not necessarily going to jump into Decentraland as unicorns and go to our business meeting. We're going to look at this kind of stuff and then sit on a voice call because this is the data we need the metaverse really being, like you said, the real time thing is, and I know this is because we're still defining Web3, defining what a metaverse is, but it's the ability to go around in real time and then also that NFT aspect that because it's decentralized, you're not submitting to the Sakai database your work and hoping that there's a kickback from there, but you just mint it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And it actually adds a different interesting layer to things where if you like minted something, you could also sell it. So if someone maybe was collecting a bunch of IP that they thought would be useful in the future, but you need the money now, you could sell it on, and someone's like a wind IP collector or rail or something like that. So you kind of have this interesting
like patent collecting almost with the data.
Yeah. But it's back straight to the hands of the person without all the intermediaries. So Web3 and Metabase, and so much more metaverse based, right? So that's the key thing. It's really about like, how does somebody, we lived in the Asia, right? And so how does someone in Indonesia who gets like an engineering degree at a good university in Indonesia directly jump into the workforce and do something and actually earn like Western salaries? It's very hard to do, but like this is kind of a way that we're hoping to build that as a possibility. So you can just join from wherever you want and do it wherever you want. And it's really up to you and your talent to kind of, yeah. And so that's the idea, is a little bit like Axie Infinity in Philippines, but that was just to play a game. This is more, as we say, a build to earn model.
Yeah, I feel like you don't need to explain this. And the first time we talked about this, you don't need to explain this to somebody as a new concept. This kind of makes sense. It's an evolution of a concept rather than a lot of the Web3 stuff, which is completely like jump into this whole new thing with me. This is like a step forward, it seems.
Yeah, well, it's also like a different like form of digital collaboration, right? I think we're just moving beyond the single kind of like shallow form of well, not shallow, but just like there was just one dimensional form of collaboration, and this is taking it into a multi-dimensional form in real time.
Yeah, that's the hope. Exactly. And it's really, building that self-ownership of the platform. And so as the DAO grows, ownership will be passed back to people, like votes will be made, let's say like what direction we're going to go in. And essentially that's the kind of the whole undergirding element. But the overall mission is to free data across the world. So that we
And when you say free data, you mean liberty, not price.
Exactly.
Liberty.
Yeah. So we can have a flag now in the U.S. flapping around. It says, "I believe in the free data movement." I believe in data freedom. There you go.
Awesome. So
just freedom.
We are super happy to have Sakai as our sponsor. Dave is going to keep coming on and updating us. And I think you can see from, you just changed that view.
Sorry, I quit out of the.
Oh, no, it's okay. Let me just move that and hit this. But I like that it's the first time we talked about it. It makes sense as an industrial thing, and it was an interesting, usable idea rather than a kind of where does this go? What's the use in the long run? Why would I be interested? It was just like, oh yeah, this already needs to happen. It makes sense, and it mirrors a lot of early internet things in my view, as far as opening up that data and getting access to people.
It's such a relatable model for this generation too. Like everybody knows, like you said, Axies, other ones. Yeah.
All right, should we push forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, let's talk NFTs.
Yeah, Nick, so what do we got going on? You have an article about the memes as weapons in the battle for the open metaverse. Now, we just got done talking about a different kind of metaverse. But tell us about the meme wars.
Yeah, so so this is a collection that is been curated by Punk6529. The article that we're linking below here is from Real Vision, Mr. Fox's weekly NFT newsletters, and this one is focusing on a little bit about how the resemblance of the memes by Punk6529 are similar to Rare Pepe's. In many ways, it's not a favorable article about it, but that certainly doesn't matter, because what you've seen now in the last like 3 weeks is like exponential growth in this ecosystem. The memes have kind of literally like caught fire. And it did start with Pepe, ironically, 3 weeks ago with it.
Are we like sharing our pain as we watch our valuations go down?
Some people might be. Mr. Fox might be, and that could be why this article is like that. But no, what's happening is like I think you see in the bear market, you get like a lot of good memes. There's a really great meme actually that says like bull markets make bad memes create bear markets, bear
Mm-hmm.
markets create good memes create good times create bull markets. And I think it's kind of funny because beyond what you're seeing here, whether you like it or not, and whether you think it is just a derivative of rare pepes, and I think that's not true. I think it's just another popular model of the series and cards. You can't argue that memes definitely rule the culture. You see it in different industries, not just in crypto, but I think specifically in the bear market now, the pain, yeah, is being numbed by memes, and we're all coping and laughing together. Because, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit of levity for us here. I just feel like a
Well,
big hug should be due for meme wise.
but to go on that, there's for those of us who know we need to be here in the bear market because otherwise you don't make money in the bull market if you're not here and buying. We could be depressed and bored, or we can have fun. But as we've talked about in the previous weeks, a lot of people leave in the bear market. We're going to stay here regardless, and we'd rather stay here and send money to a guy to go to the Bahamas than stay here and just hate our lives. Like, let's have some fun while we wait for the bull market.
Well,
right?
That's it, right?
We're not leaving.
It's community. It's community building, right? And we talked about metaverse earlier. Punk 6529 is really on a mission to educate people about an open metaverse, the importance of an open metaverse, not just letting Mark Zuckerberg run with the narrative, run with the name. We've talked a little bit before about him on the podcast about like how he's partnered with the University of Nicosia. They're the first ones to run courses on the blockchain. You get your syllabus airdropped to you. You might want to sell it or flip your homework. I don't know, but like all of those things are happening on the blockchain in the metaverse with real credentials that are now recognized. We saw CZ there just recently from Binance earlier this week. And so again, I think again, whether or not you're a fan of the memes or you even think they're funny, because one of Mr. Fox's point of views is like memes are created organically, right? Like whether it's a Doge or another thing, you can't tell us what's funny, right? And so he's saying you're taking the model of rare pepes, you're calling it memes, and you're taking some things that are maybe crypto references or inside bear market jokes, and you're telling us it's funny. So again, I think maybe Mr. Fox just missed the boat, and or something. He's coping in a different way.
And it's a marketplace. I mean, thinking back to our childhood, culture would be decided on radio, on MTV back when it was showing videos and stuff. And
yeah.
Now here we get to decide what it is. So there's a lot
we're
of derivatives.
I guess, yeah.
And we can buy the derivatives we want.
We get all the diversity that we need.
That's right. We didn't mention two things, right? We didn't mention that it's CCO, so he's releasing it all to the public to open source, remix, make money off of it, do what you may. And that he's partnering with artists. Like there's about 40 cards this series or season, and I'd say 30 different artists. So he is educating people about this, because some of these memes do have like educational purposes, like get a hardware wallet or something pretty basic, but in a fun, playful way to educate the masses. And yeah, also introduce you to different artists who are, kind of making their way. So I think, you're building a brand, you're building an ecosystem, but also I think it's much more. Yeah.
All right. So moving on a little bit, what is going on with wrapped ETH? Now, speaking of jokes, your tweet says people are making a lot of jokes about it, but apparently it's not funny.
Yeah, it depegged for a while. I thought it was funny, and then it actually depegged, and I was like, oh, people don't know. They're just shit talking. So I wanted to talk about what is wrapped ETH.
It did depeg.
Yeah, so trading it is different than the actual. You can redeem wrapped ETH for your ETH 1-to-1.
Okay.
So what wrapped ETH is, sometimes you want Ethereum to act in a different way. If you wrap it as an ERC20 token on the Ethereum network, now it can be programmed differently as a smart contract. So if you're doing things like bidding on NFTs, you'll use wrapped Ethereum so that it can be spent at a later date when your bid closes. So it gives it the power. The wrapped Ethereum contract is a very special one because it's at ERC20. And the joke is no one's updating it. There's no site. There's no admin. Good. It's supposed to be a bit of code that's open. Everyone can read. One Ethereum goes out. One wrapped ETH comes out. One wrapped ETH goes in. One Ethereum comes out the other end. Doesn't need to update. And if it does, we can withdraw all of the wrapped ETH as Ethereum because it's a smart contract. It's not being custodied anywhere. It's not being lent out to someone to trade, and start a new wrapped ETH contract if we really want to move on. But what I like is that there's no admin keys, there's no site. It just works. Now, before we move on from that, there's a few other types of wrapped Ethereum and wrapped Bitcoin. So one of the big problems last week is S-wrapped ETH, which is Sol wrapped ETH, is not an ERC20 contract. It's a different chain. So to get ETH onto Solana, you give ETH to a contract which holds it, and it issues you ETH on the Solana blockchain as a derivative token. The problem is those are held in custody, so a lot of that was by FTX. And did they really keep the ETH? Because it's not the ERC20 smart contract. Once you go cross-chain onto it, you start trusting a custody situation. Wrapped Bitcoin is the same thing. BitGo started wrapping Bitcoin and issuing it on the Ethereum network. So you send Bitcoin to BitGo. They send you back wrapped Bitcoin as an ERC20 on the Ethereum network. But there still is some trust in the custody there because it's not one network with the smart contract that just functions on there. So a lot of this FUD could have been directed at one of these custody solutions, and it was just directed at the smart contract. So it's an interesting thing to dive into, that people will just react, and people are selling it off rather than reading it. And I don't blame them. It's a tricky thing to understand if you're just here to
even your
flip
explanations
coin.
here got a little. I'm like, I think I got it.
Well, which parts did I?
Well, like, why would I want to trust Sol to create a derivative of ETH if it's off of ETH?
If you want to use DeFi on Sol because they're offering 300% APR, you take your ETH because you don't want to sell your ETH because it's going to go up, and you want it over there to work in DeFi. So you trust them to hold it, give you the derivative, and then drop it into their probably more derivative.
And
pool.
hopefully you would know that at 300% API, it's got to have some risk to it.
Yes.
Hopefully you would know.
Hopefully by now.
Yeah, I guess by now. Now you know.
Yeah, wrapped ETH is fine. It's not going to have issues like this. But if you're dealing with other custody solutions for your wrapped tokens, where are they being custodied? So far, BitGo's got a good record, but all that wrapped Bitcoin that Solana, that FTX wrapped onto Solana, probably gone. Never existed.
Yeah, it's or trapped or stuck forever.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think Sol USD reopened. I don't know, something reopened, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that all. Well, I don't really have a way for them to have like messed with it. So in theory, the Bitcoin that backs it is still somewhere, unless they're custodian.
Yeah, did they take it to a wallet that sits, or did they take it into a custodian wallet and then give it to Alameda?
Ouch. Yeah.
Right.
And like you said, David, with the one that just reopened, there's different custody solutions. So Tether could run their own wrapped USDT solution on Sol separate from FTX. So different groups can run different custody solutions. So who do you trust to custody your coins on a different chain?
Yeah. And it's weird, but it actually sounds a bit like Emblem Vault, like when you are trying to take an NFT from XRP chain and put it into
XRP,
ETH,
XCP.
XCP to ETH, and you use this thing called Emblem Vault, but you end up like you having, sometimes people actually crack the code and they have like the seed phrase and they take the NFT back out, even though the shell of the vault still remains. So the wrapping of the vault, and this is how you get a lot of these like rare Pepe cards onto OpenSea, right? But you're finding that either you can't get the card, you can't ever access the NFT and take it to your hardware wallet, or you don't have it. You just have a shell of it, like a wrapped version.
Right. So you always keep the wrapped ETH token, which you could argue is the NFT, but you're saying it doesn't actually have a redeemable XCP. Yes. So it's like having the derivative wBtc
or someone could take
with
it
no
from there.
Yeah. Someone else right click you effectively.
Yeah.
All right, moving on a little bit to the excitement of Blockfi. Now, this is a hat tip to David for explaining a little bit about how the bankruptcy might work. It says here, Blockfi owes its top 50 unsecured creditors over 1 billion, including 275 million to FTX, 30 million to the SEC for a settlement. So, David, you're saying these guys are lower in the line than your average person who's put money into BlockFi or was having BlockFi hold their cash or their coins?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a little bit weird with BlockFi because you put your money in and then it starts earning interest, right? So there's
Right.
did they split it eventually when there was an earning side and a non-earning side?
Correct.
Because once you move to the earning side, you become an unsecured creditor. So you're lower down the chain than anyone who just had money on BlockFi. Those people.
I see.
If you had it in the earning product, then it probably comes down to a small fish to big fish breakdown where it's like, hey, look, these large institutions knew what they were getting into. Smaller guys didn't know what they were getting into. You should make all of them whole first. I can imagine there'd be some class action lawsuits coming out.
Yeah, right.
So they become bigger fish.
Or maybe by law, it becomes like cents on the dollar and everyone gets the same amount.
Yeah.
But I don't see FTX, for example, getting paid back for the problem they caused.
I don't even think there's an FTX to pay.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, because BlockFi did business with, if Sam's interview is to be trusted, that's kind of, okay. But nonetheless, like if it's true that FTX US was fully solvent, then I think they collateralized the loan. Or I don't know, something in there with like where BlockFi is suing FTX for their Robinhood shares because I think they use whatever to get those. So those
they used Sam's personal holdings of Robinhood to back up the loan, and now they're saying you can go after FTX for the money, but not this. And they're saying, well, that's what you used as collateral, so it's ours.
Yeah. Gotcha. Another interesting thing is the loan. So it says, if you could take out a loan from BlockFi, and it says here for U.S., and this is from their bankruptcy information, for U.S.-based clients, their loan servicing provider Scratch will show the loan as delinquent, but at a 0% interest rate, but don't worry about it. They promise they won't report you to credit or whatever. So if I'd taken out like a $50,000 loan, I might be able to get off scot-free on that.
Really?
Well, I don't know. Is there any process for trying to pull that money back? I'm probably wrong about that, but I bet there's a lot of people out there thinking that.
I would assume it's on hold, and whoever purchases the debt can go after that.
That makes sense. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not going to pay my credit card from BlockFi, for example. Why should I? I'm not going to pay back any loan I have. Why should I? Now, they might get in trouble later down the line. But
so there was one interesting thread to go through with all this is BlockFi was functioning, and the SEC came in and said, you're offering a security. You need to disclose this information. Right. And they settled. Now they owe the SEC $100 million. But then they disclosed
still, according to
this. Hold on, but that was $100 million, and then they disclosed all the information, and nothing changed. Well, sorry, one thing you had the earn and the non-earn side, but everyone was there to participate in the earn.
You couldn't jump into the earn anymore after that.
The SEC told them you can keep running your same business, but we want to MEV, maximum extractable value of $100 million. That is what made BlockFi insolvent. They needed to go to FTX for the money for that $100 million. If the SEC hadn't gone after them like that, then they wouldn't have had to go to FTX. Then FTX wouldn't have taken the money. Then it wouldn't have gone under. So retail went under because of the SEC, and now the SEC is further ahead in line.
I think isn't that a little bit like saying you need to put seatbelts on, and then the seatbelt killed you, so therefore the government killed me.
I think it's just saying get in line, like you don't matter. Back to the line, like you Titanic, don't matter.
It sounds more like who's on the Titanic.
Okay,
who's getting off.
That for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're come to the end of the show now. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say.
Oh, no, just say that was a rough way to end it. That we don't matter.
Yeah. So where do we think Bitcoin's going to be next week?
That's the next meme.
Yeah, I think it'll be pushing into 18K.
So far we're pretty wrong. We're going.
Oh no! I've been dead on for like 4 weeks.
18K. Oh, have you been saying 16? It's still at 16.
Yeah. I was wrong. Okay, fine. But
I thought we were saying 20. Okay, but go on.
Next week I think.
So 18K by David. David says 18K. Nick, what do you say?
I don't see much change. Maybe we're in a range between 16K and 18K, but I don't see much going on.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really more like a 17,600 to 18,100 range, right below that support resistance in the 1800s, just to keep people on edge who are actively trading. So You don't have to trade this. You can buy some Bitcoin and wait 3 years.
Yeah, sit on your
But I will add, there's an important thing that just dropped. The ECB blog, whatever it was, just declared Bitcoin was dead and fading away forever. Huge
Right.
bottom.
So there is that. So maybe
Yeah.
there'll be a zero by next week.
No,
Oh.
that's the bottom. That means it's going to go up. It's wrong.
All right, gentlemen, it's been great hanging out. We'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah.
Have a great
Thank
week,
you,
guys.
everyone.
See ya.
See you guys.